Oh, my picks are bad again.
Oh,
Hey!
we got no more buys the rest of the year, so we got a full slate. We're gonna rip through this at
Boom.
double speed.
Lightning speed.
Not quite,
No.
but let's go to the picks from last week.
Oh, shitty.
Thursday night, I had the Packers plus 3.5, and they just squeaked it up by a half a point. But what do you hear me say? 3.5, 4, 5 can be a lot in the NFL.
Yes.
And it was. I'm having trouble remembering how that game played out. Who got the lead? I think the Lions got the lead, and then the Packers came storming back, and then the
And they had
Lions
that
just.
gutsy play.
Oh yeah,
Gutsy play call by Campbell and his ball sack hanging down to the ground.
yeah. Campbell. So he's at like the Green Bay 28 or something like that with a minute left. So if you kick it, obviously you give Jordan Love a minute.
Yeah.
If you go for it and get it, you can kick a field goal as time expires. If you go for it and don't get it, Green Bay, well, it was tied, right?
I don't remember. It was
was
the Green Bay was tired. It was in the lead.
Had to have been tied because
yeah.
they won by 3. So then you give them the ball, and they just have to go like 40 yards or 35 yards to try a field goal and beat you. So I don't know, like you might think it's a horrible decision, but how many, like Jordan Love's a good quarterback. How many times do you see that guy come back and like he's going to go tie it up or whatever?
No, I mean, if you listen to any other sports football talk, there's been a lot of dissection of you have to go for it in that position at that point in the game, if with that time on the clock, because if you don't, you're just putting the other people in a position to be more aggressive. And you hear a lot. There was some coach, was it Arizona, and maybe it wasn't this week, a few weeks ago, where they didn't do it. They didn't go on fourth. They took the field goal, and then the other team went down right down the field, scored a touchdown, and won. And so at that point, it pays to be aggressive. Campbell obviously likes to be aggressive in those situations. It's paying off. And no, Jared Goff wasn't down because he was not touched. His knee was down, but he was not touched.
Right. Yeah. I was like,
that's
are
the
people
rule.
Serious? Like, do you not watch the NFL?
Yeah,
like,
it's college rule. It's college rule.
Yeah, if like a lineman reached through and like hit
that's
him
right.
to knock him down, but
wow, no, he was stepped on, or somebody stepped on his foot, his own teammate.
So obviously, a lot of NFL games come down to the last possession, and there's these decisions. And watching at home, people would always think that it's the easiest thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if you're an NFL head coach, you should be able to figure it out. You should be able to plan for every scenario. But it really is. There are a lot of different scenarios, like more scenarios than you think. Just like thinking about it every day. Like if you so in that scenario, right? Like you have to play timeouts. Your timeouts, their timeouts. How much is on the clock? Like sometimes it's 30 seconds, sometimes it's a minute, sometimes it's a minute and a half. What down is it? How far do you have to go? Like it really is more dynamic than some people think. And if you haven't thought about it ahead of time for the situation, it can be way more difficult than you think. Like it's not just like, oh, duh, there's that much time. You go for it. There's more to it, and it's easy to say, but yeah, like if Campbell doesn't go for it, then Green Bay still has to go 40 yards and kick the field goal. If he kicks the field goal and gives it back to him, they still have to go. They're going to get it at the 30 with the touchback, and they have to go 40 yards to kick a field goal instead of winning, but to tie.
Yeah.
So
force overtime.
Like you just take everything out of the hands of the opponent, and with one of the best offensive play callers, and teams with weapons all over the field to get a half a yard, like
if you have an opportunity to not give them an opportunity, then that's what you have to do, and that's what he did. It's like if you've got an A-class offense like the Packers do, or the Chiefs, or the Bills, you just can't give that quarterback that offense time. Like they could 13 seconds, right? Go back to that Chiefs victory over the Bills in the playoffs. That's all you need. So don't give them 13 seconds. Don't give them 5 seconds if you can, and just end the game with the win.
And I'm not saying he makes the right decision every time. I think he had one earlier in the game. He went for it on his own 35, and they didn't get it. I think.
I don't remember. Yeah, it sounds like Dan Campbell.
And like
Brandon Staley.
That one, I don't know. Obviously more questionable,
Yeah.
but
No,
yeah,
man,
it's
awesome.
like if you think it's super easy, like in the moment to just make that decision, I don't know. I think
No.
any one of us on the sideline trying to make that call, especially, you have what, 15 seconds to make
Yeah.
it with the play clock to actually get a play in and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's not that it's something you have to prepare for, which the Bears
We're
weren't
not, no,
prepared
like not even had no idea.
for.
No idea.
All right, so I got the Packers right, snared it by a half point. We were opposite on Browns
This
Steelers.
is way off.
It was
Jameis,
close. It was
what'd
close
you do to me?
for, I don't know, like maybe into the like halfway through the third quarter, and then the Steelers kind of pulled away, if I remember right.
Yeah, well, Russell Wilson's now the best quarterback in the NFL, so I was wrong to bet against
I don't
him
know.
or go
I
against
think
him.
he always was good. Like Peyton and him were never gonna mesh. It just wasn't gonna work, and like they should have.
Like, I guess that's
Although
what I hear.
Hackett was there when he first came in, and then Peyton took the job, and
Yeah, yes, yeah. So it was Hackett, and then and there, I think people forget there was a stretch last year where they were winning. They had a 3-4 game winning streak in the middle of the season, and everybody was like, "Oh, well, look, here come the Broncos." And then it fell apart. Like fell
well,
apart.
I thought Wilson got benched prematurely in that whole
Yeah,
situation
that's true too.
It was a
That's
weird.
right. Yep.
Um,
He didn't like him. Peyton didn't like him. I think that was it. They didn't get along. Personalities not meshing.
yeah,
And that was it. I mean, and then he was gone, but he's still got something. Man, that's the Steelers, dude. I was listening to Bill Simmons' podcast today. He likes them to win this fucking Super Bowl. Or at least
Yeah.
get there out of the AFC.
and I think I said this last week or 2 weeks ago. Like Russell's won one before.
Yeah. He's been there twice.
Tomlin's obviously a good coach. He can
Excellent
coach like a close game. The defense,
Mhm.
they have a really good defense.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to it, like you get them into a close game in the playoffs, like they're not going to beat themselves. Like I could see it. Although I don't know, like they're going to have to go through the Bills and the Chiefs. Well, we'll see how the seeding plays out, but you're going to have to go through the Bills and the Chiefs and who knows who else.
But fuck the Bills, man. They've got to play the Lions this week. If they lose, they're third seed. So they would have to go to Pittsburgh at that point in that scenario.
Yeah, and if the Lions lose, then it gets real close between the Vikings and Lions if the Vikings can beat them. But
the unlosing Eagles, the winning 9 in a row Eagles.
Oh yeah, I got to look at tiebreakers. Maybe the Eagles would jump both of them. I don't know, but we'll get to.
Yeah, man, it'd be a muddle at the top of the NFC. What an exciting way
to
end the season! Oh yeah, football. Woo.
Okay, so the Panthers. You hit the Panthers.
Oh man, I sure did.
You're the one that game.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize it. I saw a clip of that play where the guy's wide open, like he dives at the 2 yard line and drops and the ball hits the turf.
Yeah.
The Eagles would have had a chance to come back and kick a field goal, but that's crazy. I mean, the Panthers.
The line was just too big. It was just too big of a line.
There's from memory, there's always a team that is booty cheeks the first half, and then they like figure some stuff out and they show progression and they just play everyone tough the second half of the season. It was this is many years. This is probably 10 or more years ago, but the Dolphins were doing this. Like they sucked and then they were like playing everyone tough. They were like beating teams by a field goal at the end, like 4 weeks in a row. But that's the Panthers of this year. Anyway, Josh got that one right. I don't know that the Eagles ever really led by more than 12.5. So that in retrospect, that was, the Panthers are going to compete with everyone. That was a good pick for sure. And then I got my afternoon ones were not good. I got the Cards wrong. Like, I don't know what it is. The Cardinals just can't match up with the Seahawks. Like they got dominated at home in a spot where they needed to win. Like maybe they're just, I don't know. You just can't figure the Cardinals out. Like they were bad the first like month, and then they ripped off like 4 in a row, I think, and now they can't beat anyone when the division's up for grabs.
And I don't think it is anymore. I mean, I think that win closed the book on the Cardinals this year for making a playoff run.
Yeah, they've lost to the Seahawks twice, and now they're 2 games back.
I think. The Seahawks are
they must be no, they're 6-7 and 8-5. So they're effectively 2.5 games out.
Yep. And watch out for the Rams. Anyway, I like the Rams better. I think the Rams are better.
Yeah, and
now
the
that they're healthier.
49ers won too. So I mean the West has just been a mess. Like no one can figure it out.
Niners beat the stinky Bears. That's not a
Yeah, we'll
victory
get
worth
to
celebrating.
that. That was my other wrong pick, the Bears on the
Got
road.
slaughtered.
That was bad. They were down like 21-0 before anything happened. So
24-0.
yeah, in retrospect, you can't like we knew that Eberflus called the defense and that he knew
Yep.
how to do that.
Yes.
So taking him out on a,
Yep.
the next week, obviously, like in retrospect, it was obvious the Niners would have some, like be able to do whatever they wanted, sort of a thing. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like like the defense you expect, but you could not have expected, I think. The fallacy was you took the guy who 4 weeks ago was your offensive passing game coordinator, who was then your OC, and then you're like head coach, and you had people saying, whoa, this guy, maybe he's going to be the next head coach. You had idiots comparing him to Mike Tomlin. Like, what the fuck? Like Tomlin was an excellent defensive coordinator in Minnesota before he became the Steelers head coach. He had proven himself before he became excellent as the Steelers head coach. Tom Brown, whatever, he hasn't proven anything. Not to say that he can't, but he didn't. And then so you've elevated him twice in the matter of weeks. There was just no way, not unrealistic to expect that team to be ready to play. Just completely unrealistic.
Yeah, the one thing I said last week was this the one this is the one I talked myself into. Never talk yourself into a
No.
pick.
Given how they had been playing, right, where they were feisty in second halves and they were competitive against teams that were good, not winning, but competitive in those second halves, it wasn't out of left field, right? But it just, I think,
Yeah, I thought they would have the juice and like play out real hard
yeah,
because
feisty. No, they quit.
most of them, didn't like
No.
Eberflus, it seemed, but
No, they didn't. And there's other issues though. There's issues now with the organizationally, like the Poles and Kevin Warren, the team president. They don't like each other. Poles is pissed because he's got to report to Kevin Warren, and it's all fucked up. It's just a fucking disaster.
yeah, that doesn't end well when like someone thinks they should have more control
That's it.
and they're constantly being checked on.
That's
like,
it.
just doesn't work.
Yeah, no.
All right. So you had the Bills. That game was nuts.
Man.
44-42 or something
Yeah.
weird like that.
Josh Allen, the most prolific fantasy points of all time.
Yeah.
Like 52 in some leagues.
Well, and they can't stop anyone. So obviously, you put an elite quarterback on a team where you can't stop the other team, they're going to have to continuously pass the ball and run if they're a running quarterback and try to get first downs and touchdowns and whatnot. So yeah,
rushing touchdowns,
but
3 passing touchdowns.
Yeah. And the week before, they said he caught a touchdown, but it was
a
throw
lateral
to Cooper. And
Yeah.
So does that really count it shouldn't count as a receiving touchdown?
I don't know how that would have been scored. I mean,
I think
certainly
it was,
didn't.
though.
It wasn't his pass, right? Like I think that's bogus. It's not his. He didn't catch his own. That's what people are saying. He caught his own pass, and that's not what happened. He passed it to somebody else who caught the ball, had legal control of the ball, and then it was lateraled back to him for the score. That he didn't catch his own pass. Cool play, but that's not catching your own pass.
Right. All right. So then I had the Chargers for 3 stars. That was my only 3-star of the week, and I got it. And it was, I don't know. I can't say it was like a spectacular pick. The Chargers were down 13-0 at halftime, and Herbert was a little banged up. Although they did get the lead very early, like midway through the third quarter, figured some things out. So I don't know. I still think it was the right side, like through and through, just because. Both teams have been pretty solid, played close games, played everyone tough. So 4 was just too much. And it ended up being, it was another one of these games where, Chiefs were down 1 and they had to kick the field goal to win by 2, or maybe they were down 2 and had to win by 1. But
the Magic Chiefs, dude.
Yeah. And they had to convert a 3rd and 7 to make sure the Chargers wouldn't have any time left on the back end. But very good game. Both teams definitely for real. I don't know that anyone needed convincing of that.
The Chiefs, their offensive output is so contrary to what it has been in the Mahomes Reed era. They keep winning. They keep managing to get just enough out of that offense every week to win. That's just man. I mean, more power to him, right? But that is crazy.
And
Just crazy.
like Noah Gray's a bigger fantasy weapon than
Yeah.
offensive weapon than Kelsey, but don't forget last year the same thing happened. Kelsey wasn't doing a lot in the regular season. And then in the playoffs, he had some of his best
Yeah.
stats of the year.
Fluid
And like
management, dude.
you almost look at Mahomes and Reed and you just think like they're saving a lot of they got plays all over the place for the playoffs, and they're just like we don't need them right now. Like
No, why? I
we
mean,
can
they're.
win games without it.
Yeah.
I think there definitely is something to that. But yeah, I mean like
I mean, yeah, they're one game up at every. They can lose one more game, and they're still, I think, in the one seed. It's way different in the NFC, where the Lions losing one game really puts them in the thick of it, which would be very interesting. This
and
weekend going to be very interesting.
if the Chiefs like last year the Chiefs weren't the one seed, right? They had to win at
Yeah, no, the Ravens. They had to beat the Ravens. Yeah, Baltimore.
yeah, they went to Baltimore. Well, let's see. They hosted the Dolphins.
Yeah, in the Freezer Bowl.
And then they beat the Ravens, but they would have didn't they have to win one more?
They would have had to have won three because they didn't have the first round bye, only the first.
So who else did they beat? I mean, it's not that important, I guess, but were the Bills in there? Did they beat the Bills last year?
Feels like they did. I think they did in fact beat the Bills in the divisional round.
Yeah, but anyway, what I was getting to is the Chiefs, even if they don't get the one seed, like I don't think they really care. Like if when they're on the road in the playoffs, like they don't really care. Like that doesn't phase them like it phases some of these other teams, it seems like.
Yeah, no, they were at the Bills too. So they beat the Bills at the Bills in the divisional round by a field goal, 27-24. So they had to win. They had to win four straight. Get this.
Yeah. All right. So
yeah,
he was 1-2. This guy, I was 3-2. Kind of just
I know anything about football.
Whatever.
Thanks for listening.
Average week, I guess. I am 40-34 overall. I gotta get my 2-star picks up a little bit. I'm
excellent.
14-15 on that, but yeah, we'll try to improve this week.
Breezy 15-36-1.
Yeah. Fade the Josh and you're rich. I guess.
That's right. Don't listen to me, or rather do the opposite.
All right.
Can't miss.
16 games, no buys. It is fantasy playoffs for a lot of people. I snuck in, and my reward is playing the number 1 seed who has Derrick Henry and Gibbs, and he's projected literally to beat me by like 25 points before the week starts. Derrick Henry in our league. So our league, you get 5 bonus points if your player has 100 plus either receiving or rushing yards. So it's not PPR, but we do give a bonus for 100. Derrick Henry has not had fewer than 10 fantasy points the whole year.
Wow.
Like that almost never happens. No player does that wire to wire. And now he's got an easy matchup. I think they play the Giants, which we'll get to. I like that I was able to sneak in the playoffs. I needed a lot to go right last week, but I don't know. It's I think I'm gonna need some injuries on the other side in order to compete. Anyway, tonight we have a good Thursday night matchup, which
must wins.
Thursday nights, I think they're not going to have Thursday night games coming up pretty soon. I think they kind of do away with that towards the end of the year. But we got the Rams and the Niners. Let's see, Niners 6-7, Rams 7-6.
Yeah, no, yes. Rams are 7-6, yes.
And Niners are 6-7. So, and then the Seahawks 8-5, and the Cardinals 6-7. So each team has 4 games left. I mean, no matter which of those 4 teams you are, you feel like if you win out, you're going to probably win that division. Although with the Cardinals being effectively 2.5 behind the Seahawks, I don't know. You have to see how it plays out. But anyway, we got the Rams at the Niners tonight. I just went 3, Niners 3.
I have the Niners giving 2.5.
And it opened at 1.5, and it is, I don't know, I guess, well, it's more 2.5 than it is 3, no matter how you look at it, because there's a 2 in there, and it opens. So you get that. We'll say it's 2.5.
Oh, yeah, it's 2. Yeah. Could be both. Call it a tie.
So seems to be a polarizing. Some people think one way and some think the other way. But
It's moving up. We could call that a tie.
no, because one spot has it 2, and so like if you would average that out, it would definitely be more 2.5.
You and your math.
Hey, let's call fair is fair.
All right.
Hover through the fog and filthy air.
Woo. A little bit of poetry today. Nice.
Okay, so what do you think? You got it.
I think the Rams are going to win. Just based off the performance last week. I think this is listening to, I think, again, something on the Ringer, like when Puka and Kupp are healthy and on the field for the Rams, they're 6-2 this year. And I think that's what's going to happen tonight, that they're both healthy and on the field. I feel like the Rams are going to win, and maybe get to the playoffs. They're a good team. And maybe McVay is the best coach in football right now. I mean, he's top 3. I think that it's Reed and Tomlin for sure, and McVay. It's got to be those 3 guys.
Yeah, there's a reason why so many people come out of the McVay tree and become head coaches and are really good.
He knows what he's doing. There's a process. There must be, I have no inside knowledge, but there must be a process and a system that is documented, communicatable, repeatable, that is just fantastic. It's a factory.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like the Rams here.
So it's just a great game for a third. Like Thursdays can be duds, but playmakers on both sides, all over the place. It's evenly matched teams. Like no one's going to tell you that one of these teams is way better than the other. And then the division, like both really need a win at this point in the season. Like a loss here is potentially season ending, like in a way. Now, granted, if either one of these teams loses this game and wins out after that, I mean, you could still see the playoffs, but
I feel it's going to be hard, I think, to make the playoffs at 9-8 in the NFC. And if the Rams lose,
well, right, they would need the Seahawks to only win one more game, and then the Niners
division at this point. The Niners lose tonight, they're out. I don't think there's no way in hell
they did split with the Seahawks, but they would, the Niners would need a lot of help.
I think the Seahawks would have to really take note, and I don't know what their schedule is. The Seahawks,
the Rams. I think the Rams have beat the Seahawks, and they play them one more time. So the Rams have a little more wiggle room than the Niners here, being already one game ahead of them. And if they win, like if the Rams win, they are 8-6, and then they control their own destiny because they still play the Seahawks. So very interesting game. I'm with you. I just think the Rams are better at this point in the season. Like they've just played a little bit more consistently. And if you think about, I'd have to look this up, but I think the Rams' strength of schedule is probably one of the tougher ones in the league. Like I think they played the Eagles, they beat the Vikings, they beat the Bills. I forget who else they've had to play out of division, but like a healthy Rams team, I think the defense is obviously a little bit of a question mark, but like they can beat anyone.
The Rams have a much tougher or a much easier road than the Seahawks.
The rest of the way.
Rams are Niners, Jets, Cardinals, Seahawks. So it could come down to that last game. The Seahawks, unfortunately for the Seahawks, Packers, Viking, Bears, Rams. So, I mean, they've got to go through 2 of the best teams in the NFC, the worst team in the NFC. I mean, maybe the Giants make the argument there. And then to cap it off with the Rams. I don't know. Could be Rams.
Seahawks. Well, we'll get to this. They play the Packers this week at home, so we'll get to that. But the Seahawks are not favored at home.
Nope.
They probably won't be favored at home against the Vikings.
Nope.
They probably will be a small favorite at the Bears, depending how the Bears. Like if the Bears suck really bad again this week, then who knows? But and then at the Rams are going to be an underdog, so they're going to be an underdog at least 3 out of 4. Yeah, good stuff.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think honestly, looking at that, I feel like I like the Rams to win the division there.
Which is pretty crazy. I think the Rams were like 3-5 or something.
Yeah,
not too long ago.
So so if they go 2-2, right, over that stretch, then they're 10-7. I mean, it would be weird that 10-7 doesn't make the playoffs, but I don't know. The NFC is pretty competitive. Pretty competitive.
All right. Okay. So I'm gonna just do a 1 star here. I think it could go either way. So I'm going to take the dog. I just think the Rams are a little bit better team. Um, people are like, "Oh, the Niners had scored a ton of points last week." Well, we explained to you why that was a little bit easier than it should have been. So I'm going to go Rams for one.
Yeah, good pick.
All right. We got 15 left. Let's do it.
Boom.
We got the Commanders at the Saints. I said
Yes.
Commanders by 5.
I've got them given 6. The old Sixer.
The wash 6.
Yeah, the wash 6. That's right.
Ooh, it's up to 7.5. It opened at 7. It's 7.5. So the wise guys obviously like the Commanders. So I'll explain a little bit of what's going on here. Derek Carr broke a bone in his non-throwing hand. So some people are going to say, well, who cares? Like, it's not that big of a deal. I don't think he needs surgery. And it's possible that he plays.
But he's not very good.
But
in general.
If none of you have ever broken a bone in your hand, I've broken a bone in my hand multiple times. And even just like taking the snap and like using your offhand just to do like offhand sorts of things, it can be super painful. I know, well, obviously I know from experience. So like, even if he plays, I don't know, like it's going to be very tough to play well, like to play as well as Derek Carr can play. And the big thing is like, they're saying he doesn't need surgery, which typically means the bone it's broken, but it's lined up. So it's just going to heal itself. But the last thing you want is to jar that and like dislocate the bone or like move the bone so that it's that you would need surgery. So that's very interesting how that's going to play out. So I think there's a reason why it's high. If Rattler has to play, like you saw what he tried to do earlier this season, it wasn't good. And then if Carr's playing and playing hurt, like that's going to be tough. Plus Commanders off the bye. I think that's part of it too, why it's a little higher than we thought.
Taysom Hill's also injured out for the season. He's a big
the Swiss Army Taysom.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah. So this is I don't know. Like the line says to me like maybe Washington does blow them out just because of some of the quarterback issues with the Saints, but I don't know.
Just put up 42 against the Titans last week.
Yeah, but it's a road favorite by more than a touchdown, which is tough. Like that usually
that's underperformed this year, I think.
No, it always does. Like it's I don't know. So and the Saints, like they just lost. Like they're like not mathematically eliminated, but they're because what are the Bucks? Bucks are 7-6. Bucks are 7-6. Falcons are 6-7.
The Saints are 5-8.
And the Saints are 5-8. So I mean, yuck. Like, yeah, technically you're still in it, but
they have to play the Packers and the Bucks yet. To end the season, their Raiders are in there too, but I don't know. I don't think they're winning either of those games. Maybe against the Bucks.
The interim Saints coach is saying, "Let's win all these, and then the Bucks will be for a playoff spot."
Yeah, you're not getting a losing team in the playoffs in the NFC this year, right? You're not getting a team with a losing record. 8-9 is not going to get it done, and I don't think there's any way to beat the Packers. So.
Right. Okay, let's stop with the bad games and start with another bad game. Chiefs at the Browns. I have the Chiefs by 5.
I way underbid this. I had the Chiefs giving 3.5.
I don't remember what this is.
It's not 3.5. Oh, fuck, it's 4.
Open at 4. It's kind of sticking at 4. You get that by a half point. You are 3-0 this week. Cooking me. All right. What do we think about this?
I think I had a really great game.
The Browns are feisty. The Browns are feisty at home. The Chiefs don't blow anyone out. So it's fair. Like I said 5, it's 4. Yeah, I mean, I guess until something different happens, you just expect the Chiefs to beat teams by a field goal
by a smaller margin. Yeah, and that's what they've been doing, like consistently. They're not blowing people out.
Another thing I forgot to mention, the field goal so Butker's injured, but he's coming back in a few weeks. Matthew Wright, I think, is their kicker. He doesn't have a big leg, blah, 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 whatever. He made 3 kicks in that game, but the last one was only like a 30-yarder, and he hit it off the upright. I don't know if you were watching, but
Yes. Oh, yeah. It did a doink. Like, of course, it's the anti-Bears doink, right? Because the Bears doink it and it's no good.
Yeah.
The Chiefs doink it and it's like, God is like, fuck no, the Chiefs are winning this game.
You got to kick it with just the
Yeah.
right spin, so when it doinks, it goes
That's
through.
right. Here's what's great. The Chiefs have won the last 2 games in the exact same margin of victory, the exact same score. 19-7, 19-7. And I think that's one of the
1917?
yes,
Yeah.
that's it. Yes, 1917, excuse me.
That's
Yes.
wild.
And then of 3 of the last 5 games, they've scored under 20 points, right? They beat the Broncos 16-14, and then they lost to the Bills, and then they beat the Panthers. They managed to get 30 on the Panthers, but only beat them by a field goal. And then 19-17, 19-17. That's why this line is so long. They're not, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
they're not offensive juggernauts this year at this point.
Yeah, I think it's that vanilla playbook. They're like, let's keep the chocolate one for the playoffs.
Yes, yes.
Or the
Yes.
Neapolitan. All right. God, Jameis. How can you like Jameis? But I don't know. Like, I do think the Browns cover here. I just don't know if I want to pick it or not. It's kind of like, I mean, the Browns obviously aren't going anywhere this year. It's kind of like their Super Bowl at this point. Like, can you beat the Chiefs at home and just kind of hang your hat on that? I think I'm staying away from it. Like, Jameis can be winning this game and throw a couple pick sixes real quick and not cover. I just think it's too volatile to really trust that, even though it is more than a field goal at home. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so let's go to the next one.
Let's
We
do it.
got the Bengals fresh off a win. You don't get to say that too much this year at the
Feisty win.
Titans.
Yes.
And they get the Titans, so they
Titans.
could possibly win again. I have Bengals by 5.5.
Oh, you're gonna get this. I went Titans by 1.5. That's way wrong.
It is
Right.
5. Bengals by 5. So the Titans obviously have been pretty much bad the whole year. They did beat the Texans at the Texans a couple weeks ago, randomly. But again, that division and division games in general, like, you can kind of match up with the team because you know what they do. Like, you play them twice a year. But I don't know. Like, should the Bengals be favored by 5 against anyone? I mean, I guess they covered against the Cowboys, but it was kind of fluky.
I mean, Burrow is, I think, statistically well, maybe this isn't true. He's statistically one of the best quarterbacks this year, right? Like, he's got, I think, the most yards. I think he has the most touchdowns. He's not throwing a ton of interceptions. He's doing his job. So I think that's one of the reasons. And the Titans aren't good. They're just not good.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys muffed a punt.
Mhm. Yes, they did.
Which gave the game to the Bengals. But
That's right.
if you're the Bengals, and granted it's the Cowboys, like, it's Cooper Rush, but they only gave up 20 points. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment for their defense.
Yeah, it was. It was. And it wasn't just that the Cowboys blocked a punt and then they fucked that up by touching it and not recovering it, which made it a live ball.
I didn't actually see it, but I just heard about it.
Yeah, and so it was just a stupid, like, it was a boneheaded play by the Cowboys where you just you don't touch that. Like, that's just a very situational thing that you have to know.
Yeah, so this just feels a lot like last week's game. Like,
Yeah.
you're on the road, you're playing a team that's pretty bad. And the spread is 5.5. I think last week it was like exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Bengals were 5.5. Or wait. Yeah, 5.5.
And they covered. But
Right.
I'll take the Titans here. Give me Titans for 1.
Right, all right.
Yeah, take them. Not to win, but maybe just to cover. Get in there. Get in
So-
that 5.5.
I've talked way too much about the Bengals, like, what they need to do to make the playoffs, because their offense is better, like, deserves to make the playoffs, and obviously their defense hasn't played well enough for that. But we'll just spend another minute real quick here. So the Bengals are 5-8. There are 4 teams that are 8-5 in the AFC. That they obviously need to pass one of those, but one of those teams is the Texans, who's winning their division, and the next closest team is 6-7, I think. So, or would they be whatever? The Colts are 6-7. The Texans are 8-5. So the Texans probably win that division.
Yeah.
Takes one of those teams out of it. So the Bengals basically need to win out, and they need one of the Chargers, Broncos, or who's the other? Oh, Ravens to basically go
All those teams are
1-3. They need one of those teams to go 1-3, and they need to win out. So
yeah,
the chances of that happening are like 5%. But I mean,
they've got to down the stretch. They've got to beat the Browns, the Broncos, and the Steelers. So I guess if they go 3-0 across that, and they beat the Titans, yes, you're right. They have to win out. I don't know.
They need a lot of help, but
I see 2-2 feels more realistic, and I don't see that happening.
Right. Weirder things have happened, but
True.
probably not going to happen.
Not this year.
Okay, so Josh likes the Titans a little bit.
A little bit.
Plus 5.5 for one. I don't have an opinion. Let's move on to the next one. We are 1/4 of the way through. We have an interesting game here. Dolphins at the Texans. I said Texans 3.5.
I've got the Texans giving the old home field 3.
I think you're closer. You might be right on even. I got cute with my half point. It opened at 2.5 and it is 3.
No.
Okay, you got it.
Good.
I did get the last one. You're beating me 4-1 this week. So what do you think? You nailed it.
I just think the Texans aren't very. That's not true. Not very good. I think the Texans are a middling to decent team, and the Dolphins are a question mark, and they could just win this game outright. And I think that's why the Texans are just favored by the home field 3.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I want to think that the Texans are the better team and should win this game.
I mean, I think that's fair, but I think the question is, are they? Like, there's a question mark. There's a very soft question mark at the end of that.
Right. I mean, the Dolphins need it more. The Texans are still 2 games up in their division.
I mean, I don't think anybody else will win that division, but I don't know what that says about this division. I think,
Texans are off a bye.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, obviously that sometimes like it helps you scheme some things up, gives you more time to prepare. I don't know. Like I want to like the Texans, but my head says Dolphins. I think I'm just not giving anything on this one.
I mean, the Dolphins are 4-1 over their last 5 games. They beat the Jets. They lost to the Packers. They beat the Patriots, the Raiders, and the Rams. And the Rams were still injury plagued. Those are not a cadre of good teams. And the Texans are they're 2-3 over their last 5 games, and they've lost to the Jets, the Lions, and the Titans. Meanwhile, only beating the Cowboys and the Jaguars. These are 2 not good teams. I don't know. Like over these last 5 games, they're just not good teams. I'll take the Dolphins here for another one. A 1-star. Give me the Dolphins here.
I agree with you, but I'm not gonna quite go there because I don't know. I don't know what wins out here. I think there's
feels like a coin flip.
Yeah, case to be made for either one. All right, let's go on.
Let's move. Yeah.
The game of the week is always with the Giants, right? Giants hosting the Ravens. I have the Ravens by 8.5.
Give them 6.5.
Did you see this line?
No.
It's 15. On the road, it's 15.
It was the largest 15. Line in the year, right?
It was 15. I mean,
it's 16.5. It's 16.5 is what it is.
It opened at 14. It's up to 16.5. Okay. Let's talk about this.
I
was off by 8, and I get this. Okay. There is absolutely something out there that says that the Giants are tanking. There has to be. I'm not saying I have something about that, but the last time a road team was favored by more than 14, I don't know. You could probably look it up. I would guess it's been 5 years or more since that's happened. Because even when you get the best team in the league against the worst team in the league, it's usually not more than 14. This the Ravens are 8-5.
Yep.
The Giants just covered against the Saints and the game should have gone to overtime. I think they missed a short field goal to send it to overtime. Like something goofy's going on here.
I mean, they got blasted by the Bucks a few weeks ago, and they got pile drived by the Eagles a few weeks before that. But other than that, they're not they're not losing by that much, right? Now, granted, the two best teams that they've played over that stretch, they did. So maybe, but the Ravens are fluky too. I don't know. That's huge.
I think the Ravens are off a bye.
Yeah.
The Ravens just lost to the Eagles and sort of got embarrassed a little
Yeah, a
bit.
little bit.
And the Giants are really, really bad. Like,
Yes, very bad.
Might be the worst team in the NFL. So
I mean, they just jettisoned their quarterback. He's no longer guy who started the season as their starter, isn't even on the team anymore, and not because of injuries. They're like
he's a Viking.
There's the door guy.
So I get that, but this should not be more than
Enormous.
This should not be more than like 10 or 12. Like 16 and a half is absurd.
Let's stay away.
So yeah, for sure. Like that's so it tells me that the Ravens is the right side, but are you really taking a team that's favored by 3 possessions on the road? I don't know. It'll be if the Ravens win 43-3. I mean, the Giants were probably tanking, and then it makes sense. But this is crazy. Like this is very odd.
Yep.
And it'll be interesting to kind of monitor how that game plays out. I have Neighbors on my fantasy team, and I don't know what to do with him. He's questionable. Quarterback play has hurt him. But then if I sit him, I feel like he's going to go off. I don't know. It's a tough. I almost hope he's out. Like he's just not playing. So I don't have to make that decision because I usually don't make that decision very well. All right. So that's a weird one. Let's go to the next one. We got the Jets against the Jags in the toilet bowl.
Yeah.
I said Jets by 3.5.
I've got the Jets just giving 1, and you're gonna get this one right on 3.5.
Holy
Look at that.
cows. Opened at 3, went to 3.5.
Yep.
Okay. The Jags just beat the Titans on the road.
Mm-hmm. Great victory.
The Jets just went to overtime and lost to the Dolphins. Okay. Jets are at like the Dolphins 25 with I don't know how much time left. And they were at maybe the 30 or 35, and they threw it was like 3rd and 15. They threw like a 7-yard pass to Davante Adams, and he goes out of bounds, and there's like 50 seconds left. If he stays in bounds, I don't think the Dolphins had any timeouts left. If he just falls down, the Jets could kick a field goal with like 10 to 20 seconds left. Mm-hmm. Instead, he goes out of bounds. They kick it. The Dolphins have 45 seconds to go set up a field goal. They go get a field goal, and then in overtime they get the ball and they go score a touchdown. Game over. It was very. It was weird. Like Adams should have known to go down. I don't know. It was a very weird. The way it played out was very weird. I don't know if the Jets are playing for a better pick or what's going on there, but it was an odd situation. So how does that play into what we're looking at here? So I nailed it right on 3.5. Like no one's gonna tell you the Jaguars are a better team, so I get why the Jets are favored. And then the Jags are bad enough where you can still give the Jets a little more than 3, but you don't get crazy with it because it's a road favorite. I think that's kind of why I settled on 3.5.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense to me. I just neither of these teams are very good, and I don't like. Yeah,
the way the Jaguars played last week and they won a road game, and the way the Jets have found ways to lose games, I think the Jaguars are going to be a lower pick on my winners pick 'em just to win the game, just because they care a little bit more. they could have easily fired their coach, or like Peterson could have lost the locker room, but apparently he hasn't. So I'm gonna go Jaguars here for 2 star skis and Hutch. Jags 3.5 can be a lot. If the Jets win by 25, don't talk to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Let's go on. We got the Cowboys at the Panthers. Another spectacular game. At least these two teams have been playing fairly well over the last month. I said Panthers by 1.
I have the Panthers given 2. 2 points. Yeah.
I think you might barely get it. Open at 2 and it's 2.5. 2.5.
I mean, I don't go out and say I think I like the Panthers here. I don't know. I'm gonna go for 2 points. Give me the Panthers here for 2.
2-banger.
I'm buying into just this team. I like this story. I like this story that everybody was shitting on this organization. Everybody was shitting on poor Bryce Young, and they're punching back. They're not winning every game, but they're fighting, and that's cool. I just like to see that, and I'm happy that there's some life in this team. And the Cowboys, I feel the exact opposite. They're just deflating like an old balloon, and so I think I like the Panthers here.
I do too, just the way they're playing. I mean, it's probably the first time the Panthers have been favored in like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
So that's a little
Soft
different.
favorite,
Like
but
you're
yeah.
actually not the underdog sort of a thing. So like, can they cover
Yeah.
2.5? I do think they definitely stay in this game. I don't think there's a good chance of the
Competitive.
Cowboys blowing them
Yeah.
out. But so you said 2 stars Panthers. I'm gonna go 1 star Panthers. We don't often pick the same way, but you're getting it here.
Yeah. Fun.
Go Panthers. Okay, let's go on. We got the Bucks and the Chargers. It's a good game. I said Chargers 3.5.
I had Chargers at 3.
I think it's less than. It is 3. It's exactly 3.
Woo.
Another one where I got cute with that half point and it didn't pay off for me. All right, nailed it.
Yeah, I mean, this is. I think this is Vegas saying these are 2 similar teams, right? Just in terms of from a competitive standpoint. I don't think I believe that. I think the Chargers, I think, are the better team. I think there's a stability to them, at least on the defensive side of the ball, that the Bucks don't have on either side of the ball, which is why I do like the Chargers here. But I also think the line isn't bigger, even though the Chargers are at home, because offensively they're a little stolid. They're not a fancy, flashy offensive team. They're not going to typically go up and put 40 or even 35 on you or 30. So I think that's why this is the standard sort of home giving away 3 points.
Yeah, I think you said everything correctly. Like if you look at the ability, the overall ability or talent or how good each team is, they're very similar, but they do it in way different ways. Like you said, I mean, the Chargers want to play good defense and they have one of the best defenses in the NFL, and they want to kind of just like control the clock and not, really like run up the score. The Bucks can be all over the place. They can be up 3 touchdowns on you in a half a quarter, or they can come back from 3 touchdowns down. They're just kind of more Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, equal teams. It's 3. It makes sense. The Chargers kind of sort of had the Chiefs and lost it.
Mm-hmm.
The Bucks have played well for the last
3 in a row.
Even when they had some of their better players out, they were competitive against good teams. It'll be a good game. I don't really know. Like, I think it's fair.
I can agree
at that.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
That's it. I can say.
We got the Colts at the Broncos, which is somewhat interesting. I said Broncos 5.5.
I have the 5.5. We're samesies.
Whoa, it's a little lower than that. It opened at 5 and it went to 4.
That's weird to me. The five makes sense just because I don't know. I think the Broncos are a known quantity. They're a good team. That quarterback situation seems to have some stability and some growth there. They've got a good coach. The weird thing to me is why is the Colts are just there's nothing. They're
Yeah,
not a
they're
good team. They're
I
not a good
agree.
team.
They're not
They're just not.
interesting to me. They're not like
They don't
how
do
they have
anything well.
6 wins
Yeah.
just seems odd.
Well, they
but
did play the Bears. So
yeah, and they also lost to the Jaguars.
I mean, the
Put that in your
Jaguars are
book.
another weird team.
Okay, so I don't know. This one is confusing to me. I really thought the Broncos obviously would be more than 4. I think they are a better team enough to the point where it should have been like they should have been closer to a touchdown
Yeah.
than a field goal. Like, is Richardson going into Mile High against one of the best defenses off a bye and keeping this game close? Like, I don't think so, but with the line being lower, like the Colts obviously very much need this game. If they lose and go to 6-8, they're basically toast.
Yep.
So I get that part of it, but
This is the 7-8. These are the 7-8 seeds right now, so maybe that's playing into some of it. Like the Broncos are the ones that are just ahead of them in the playoffs, like in the playoff seeding. So I don't know, maybe that is trending as well. But I don't think that does anything for the Colts. I don't think that makes the Colts better.
yeah, you got a quarterback who hasn't figured everything out yet on the road against a very good defense. Uh, I don't know. Like, I think there's a better chance the Broncos blow out the Colts than the Colts
Yes.
like
Win.
keep this
Yeah.
close or win the
Yeah,
game.
I agree.
So I'm gonna go Broncos. Broncos for 2.
Mm.
All right, let's move on. Patriots at the Cardinals. I said Cardinals by 8.5.
The Cards giving 5.
And it is, you're
6.
closer.
6.
Open at 6. There's a 6.5, but mostly 6 it is. And Josh is up 7-3, so I need 5 in a row to win this. All right. Patriots off a bye. Cardinals just don't want to win anymore.
It's like they don't know how to win.
Yeah, no kidding. Who did the Patriots play right before the bye? I forget. Oh yeah, the Colts beat them.
Yeah.
I like went going for it on.
Yes, just by 1
yeah,
point.
1
Yeah,
point.
by 1 point.
Okay. This is a 3-star pick for me, and it's going to be the Patriots, which is a little crazy. I know I'm crazy. Cardinals have not been playing well. Patriots off a bye have been a little bit frisky. The line is lower than I thought. There's definitely, I think, something to that. Like the Cardinals not being favored by a touchdown at home, trying to make the playoffs. There's something to that. I really think this game is one of those that the Patriots might come out and hit them in the mouth, and the Cardinals are scrambling in the fourth quarter trying to win a game where they absolutely need it. I just think that the Patriots have played better than the Cardinals. It's lower than I thought. The Patriots are off a bye. Drake May continues to keep playing better and better. 6 is a lot. I like it. I'm talking myself. Well, I'm not talking myself. I've liked this since I first saw it. Patriots, 3 stars. Book it.
Yeah, I like this pick. The Patriots have been feisty and sort of in spite of themselves. I feel like you're definitely going to see probably a coaching change coming out of this season.
For
the Patriots.
Yeah.
I don't think Mayo's going to stay. I feel like this team's underperforming, and you start to see that they may have their quarterback. And I just don't see how you.
Well, what's their record? I mean, they were expected to be 5 or 6 wins, and they're on
They're on track for that. Yeah, but I think that that's the issue is that I think they could. There's talent on that roster. They probably have overperformed, and they're not.
Oh.
And I think that's there because I think you didn't know what you had in their quarterback, and now that you see that maybe this might be the guy, I just don't see you sticking with.
Yeah.
So you don't think it really? I don't know.
They could.
Yeah.
I mean, their division is sort of tough. The Bills have been so good, but like,
yeah,
if you go out and get a receiver, and May continues to play better,
that's right.
And you can just your defense has been pretty decent. If you could just get a little bit better there, like you could compete for the playoff playoff spot next year.
For sure.
I would say
for sure.
All right.
Different coach though.
The next game is the game of the year.
Oh my God, such a great fucking game, man.
The next
A lot of these are
the
good.
next three are
Yeah,
good.
terrific games.
Bills at the Lions.
Oh, we did the samesies here again.
All right. We both said Lions by 3.
Yes. And it's two and a half.
Guess what?
It's
only
not
2.5.
No.
Lions by 2.5.
Great fucking game, man. Great.
Okay, so Vegas is saying the Bills are a slightly better team. And do you buy that or don't you buy that?
Mm.
In this situation, I think the Bills is the right side. They just got beat by the Rams. They've already clinched their division, but they obviously still are trying to play for that 1 seed in the AFC. So I don't know. Like, I think this is going to be a close game. The key really is going to be, can the Bills stop the running game of the Lions? The Bills can't stop anyone's running game. They're really bad. So that's going to be the key. Like, I really think if the Lions wanted to, they could run Gibbs and Montgomery all day long and just keep getting 5 yards. So because of that, I think it's a little bit tougher for the Bills, but I also think the Bills are going to be able to score pretty much at will against the Lions. I mean, this could be a very, well, I don't know. It seems like when you think it's going to be a high scoring, then it's not. It's more of a ball control type of a game, but I do like the Bills here. I think they sort of need it a little bit more, and the Lions are on top. Like, a lot of people will tell you they think the Lions are the best team in the NFL, and I think Bills come in with a little bit more of a chip on their shoulder and maybe pull this off. So I like it. I don't love it. I'm gonna go 2 stars on the Bills.
Oh man, yeah, I'm gonna stay away. I just have no idea.
Well, teams are blue. What do you do?
Yeah, it's exactly. You can't make a pick. I think some of this is that the Lions defense has been injured, right? And so they're sort of they're scrapping right now, and they're playing but getting by grit instead of the talent they had at the beginning of the season. I don't want to pick against the Lions, but I think you're probably right. I feel like the Bills are kind of good here, but I just feel like Dan Campbell's got. If I'm picking, like, if all things being equal, I like Campbell better as a coach. I don't think I would have ever said I would have said that 3 years ago. I'm mystified by that, but yeah, I like Campbell.
This game's like, the more I think about it, like setting up to be a candidate for like an instant classic. Like,
so cool.
If either one of these teams is down by 2 scores entering the 4th quarter, I fully expect either Goff or Allen to just keep scoring and keep their team in the game. Like, I really don't think this game is a blowout either way. And it should be a great game. Obviously, it must be an afternoon game on Sunday. Great game to watch.
Great games.
This next one might be as well. And man, this is the most picks I'm going to give out all week because I like this next one a little bit too. We got the Steelers at the Eagles. I said Eagles by 4.
I've got the Eagles by 3.
And it is, what is it, 5?
It is Eagles by 5, yeah. 5.5.
Open at 4.5. It's up to 5.5.
This one's odd. This is odd to me, honestly, that it's not 3 or 2.5. Like, just for all the reasons you're talking about for like the last game, this is matchup of 2 really good teams. The Steelers, I feel like they've proven themselves. I know the Eagles are on like an absurd 9-game winning streak, but what the heck? It's
kind of something has to give. Like the Steelers haven't lost by more than 5 points, I think, all year. I think their losses were, I looked this up, they're by 5, 3, and 3. So if you're playing that, you're like, well, of course they're going to be close. But the Eagles have blown a lot of teams out as well. So I'm a little leery just because it's higher than I guess. It's almost a touchdown in a way. But like, don't you just like, I just expect this to be a good game. Like, it could go either way. I don't know. Maybe it's tied and the Eagles score a touchdown and then it ends up being a touchdown. But I just think there's a much better chance that it's a 1-score low field goal type of a game than anything else. Is this the toughest matchup the Eagles have had in the last 2 months?
I mean, they in their 9 game winning streak, they have beaten in the middle, they beat in a row the Commanders, the Rams, and the Ravens.
And those, yeah, they beat the Rams and the Ravens on the road. So
Yeah,
scratch what I said. I mean, they're obviously just playing really
they're a
well.
good team, man. I like, yeah, I don't, I, we need to look at this, but is there a better set of three, like a 3 consecutive victories over? I mean, those are all, well, the Rams, I feel like will be a playoff team. They weren't, and they aren't now, but like Commanders, Rams, Ravens, like that's a
Yeah.
great, like that's, it's not nothing. This wasn't like the Patriots, the Jaguars, and the Titans that they beat in a row. Although I think they did something like that at the beginning of the season, but I, yeah, I mean, I don't know, but the Steelers are so fucking good, man.
Yeah. So I like the Steelers a little bit. It's
Yeah.
weird that it's a little high, so I don't
Yeah.
love it. I'm just gonna go one star on the Steelers. I think they can keep it close. I don't know. The defense, Tomlin, Russell, I think they can I don't know, keep it close.
Yeah.
Should be a good game. I mean, this afternoon session is gonna be
A lot of
really
fun.
good.
Yep.
And the next game, so this next one must be Sunday night, right? Because there's the 2 Monday night
Yes,
games.
correct.
Okay, so this
Great.
Sunday night football, you got the Packers at the Seahawks. I said Packers by 2.
Seahawks 2.5. Give them 2.5. I went the other way, which is incorrect because it's the Packers by 3.
Yeah, Packers opened at 2, it's up to 3.
Yeah.
So I get that one. So I need to win the last 2 to tie. All right. So I think it would be fair either way, whether the Seahawks or Packers are favored. I mean, they're what the Seahawks are 8-5, the Packers are 9-4. I just think people don't fully believe in the Seahawks yet. They
No.
like the Packers. I think you have to say just are definitely a little bit better team at this point.
Yep.
But yeah, I wouldn't have been surprised if it was a pick 'em or the Seahawks slightly favored. Yeah, I mean, should be a good game.
Mhm.
I don't know. The Seahawks, they've beaten some decent teams recently. I think have they won like 4 in a row or something? Or they're like 3-1 in their last 4.
They have won 4 in a row over the Niners, Cardinals, Jets, and Cardinals.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't. I think this is a fair line. I
They
think
also
it'll be a
lost to
good
the
game.
Giants.
Don't really know what to say. I do think the Packers will win. I don't know if it'll be by more than 3.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Packers here too. The Seahawks schedule is really grimy towards the end of the season. That's why I like the Rams to win this. I don't think they're going to win this game.
So one thing I guess for the Packers, the Packer backers, the Seahawks have won 4 in a row. The Packers just lost to the Lions, right, on Thursday night.
Yes. Yep. Close game, good game, gritty game.
Little extra
Tough
rest for the Packers. Packers off a loss. Sometimes you
Yep.
see a little bit more motivation, focus, whatever.
Yep.
So for that reason, I do like the Packers, but
Yep.
I don't know. They might win by 2. They might win by 7.
Mhm.
I don't know. We got 2 left. So 2 Monday night games.
Bum, 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 bum.
We will be out at the bar for these.
Bah. Heck
Partially
yeah, we will.
because there's 2 and partially because it's his team against my team.
Yeah.
Bears Vikings. I said Vikings by a touchdown.
Could have gone more. I went 6.5. I don't know why I didn't go higher. I was stupid. I don't know what I was thinking. I was drunk, I guess.
I opened at 6.5 and it is 7. So I
Yeah.
nailed that.
Yeah.
So that gets me to I'm 1 down. I need to hit the last one to
Oh,
tie.
and you're gonna, son of a bitch.
All right. This game, I think if Eberflus was still the coach, this is definitely less than 7 just because the defense would have played better under him.
Yep. Yep.
In a division game. And like we all, well, not we all, but the Bears were down 2 scores and they ended up sending it to overtime
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago against the Vikings. So it's one of those, like, based on how the Bears played last week without Eberflus coaching the defense, the Vikings could win by a lot. But divisional game, Bears played them tough last time. It could be a close game. So I think 7 is kind of like the middle of those 2 thought processes, and that's kind of where I settled.
Like, it's going to be more than that. You can beat the Vikings for 3 stars. Yeah, there's no way the Bears are going to win this game or keep it.
Sometimes the best opinions are against your own team because you know them so well. So Josh is going 3.
Yeah, Vikings. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I actually kind of do think the Viking. This is scary that I'm saying this. I also think the Vikings will
Yeah.
win by more than a touchdown. I just think the Bears are kind of cooked this year. You can't like the guy calling the defense. You take him out and expect the defense. Like, what do you do? Like, how do you quickly make your defense serviceable? It can be tough. Obviously, we saw last week.
Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, the Vikings need to win to keep pace in their division. They
Yeah.
need some help. Obviously, the Bills beating the Lions would be big because then I'd have to look down the tiebreaker, like tiebreaker procedure 3 and 4 because the Vikings win this game and the Lions lose, and then the Vikings beat the Lions. A lot of stuff is even.
Yep.
So big game for the Vikings. Obviously, the Bears want to play well in the division. I think it's a fair line.
I'm not sure. I don't know. Given the way they make decisions, I'm not quite sure that that's a true statement.
Yeah, and so they were 4-2, and now they're what, 4-9?
Yeah.
Or
4-8.
So they're. I mean, I don't know. Like they could get the. Everyone has at least 3 wins, right? Could they get the? They could get the 1 pick.
The Raiders and the Giants only have 2.
Oh yeah.
And
I knew the Giants had 2. I don't know why I said that.
Yeah. And the Panthers still only have 3. So.
Yeah, and the Giants are. I don't think the Giants are winning another game. Like.
I mean, I don't think the Bears are either, but yeah.
At any rate, they probably get. I mean, they get like a top 8 pick.
I mean, it's a top 10.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, they will. It's going to be a good, valuable pick, except that the Bears have it, which automatically just deletes all of that value. They'll probably draft another punter.
So we'll be watching this one. I don't know. It could be a good game. It might not be, but we'll see.
We'll hope for a good game. But yeah. I mean,
what's the timing on these? Are they doing like a 6:30, 7:30?
Like something, yeah, and then it's like a 7:15.
Yeah, so they stagger them so that at halftime you can watch the other one or something like that.
Spoken like a true Swirsky.
Okay, we got 1 game left,
mm-hmm.
and it is the Atlanta Cousins against the Oakland Raiders.
It's actually 7:30, so that's kind of late. But anyway.
No. Okay, I have the Falcons on the road by 4 at the Raiders.
I went low. I went 1.5.
Falcons 1.5?
Yes, because I don't think they're very good.
So we tie the week. I think we tied last week too. Yeah, we tied last week. And it is what? It's 4.
Yeah.
So I nailed it.
Yeah.
Okay, the Raiders obviously aren't very good, but the Falcons have played like Cousins over the last 3 games or something like that. Cousins has 8 interceptions and no touchdowns, or maybe he did throw one against the Vikings. I can't remember. He's just been like they've just been bad. The Falcons haven't been good. Raiders have been a little bit frisky, and O'Connell's out for the year, I think. So this is Ritter against his former team.
Mm-hmm.
So this, like I said, this is a lot of picks, but there's a lot of games this week too. So I'll just make that excuse that everything's valid. I'm gonna go Raiders here. They're at home. They've been frisky a little bit. Ritter against his former team, maybe something to prove. 4 on the road for the Falcons, who haven't even played well at all the last month, can be a lot. I think the Raiders can keep it close, and I like them. I'm gonna go 2 on the Raiders.
Nice.
What do you think?
I think that's a good
game?
pick. Yeah, terrible game. I mean, this is like if you were picking a slate, we're gonna have 2 Monday night games. Like, why didn't the NFL swap this out and put fucking Lions, Bills, Eagles, Steelers on Monday night? Now that would have been a fucking game. That would have been awesome. But no, we've got this. I don't know what you want to say. I think Falcons are just trending down. They don't have the right quarterback, clearly. The fact that we're not going I guess they feel they're still in it, which is why they keep trotting Cousins out, but this feels like a great place to start Penix to me.
Yeah. The only thing I heard that get brought up, Falcons played the Vikings, so obviously I was watching that game. they brought up the whole like, is this the time to bring Penix out? And I think it was Greg Olson said he's like, Cousins is on a 3 or 4 year deal, and he's only halfway through one season or whatever. He's like, this is probably not the spot to do that. I mean, that's from a contract perspective. Obviously, from a what are you doing for me lately, and what do we have in the young guy situation? Some people probably do want to see that, but I sort of agree with them. Like, I don't think at this stage you're going to get more out of Penix than you do out of Cousins, but who knows?
I mean, their last three of their last four are against the Raiders, Giants, and the Panthers. So, like, could they be? I mean, could they finish 9-8? Sure, and maybe that's enough to get the division. I don't know. I mean, the Bucks, they have two against the Bucks, so maybe they're not out of it. But I don't know. I don't see it. That's why I stick with Cousins, but I don't see it.
The fact that it could be Falcons winning the division and hosting the Vikings when the Vikings have
Yeah.
like 5 more wins than them.
Yeah.
Just
So it's
like
third.
I get this shit taste in my mouth. Like they need to change. I don't know how they need to do it, but like
Just rank them by record.
the division should not matter that much. Like maybe you win your division, you're in it, but
You
you
you're
shouldn't you shouldn't host a game.
That's right.
Like you're
Yeah.
obviously clearly worse.
Yeah.
You lost to the Vikings.
Yeah.
You are a shittier. You just lost to the Vikings by 21. Like, why should you get to host them?
Yeah.
And the same sort of thing sort of applies. Just to do a quick, tangent to college football. So the top 4 conference winners get the top 4 seeds. So Arizona State and Boise have byes, and you're looking at Notre Dame doesn't have a bye. Penn State doesn't have a bye. Ohio State lost to Michigan. Maybe they don't deserve a bye, but there's a couple other teams that, based on overall merits of who they played and who they beat and who they didn't lose to, should definitely have those bye. Like Notre Dame is per the Sagarin ratings, college football ratings, they're the best team in the country, and they don't get a bye, and then they would have to beat the 2 seed Georgia, and then they obviously would still have to go through 2 more games. Like it's the same thing. Like if you win your division or you win your conference in college, you should get in. You shouldn't
Be seated higher.
you shouldn't get a bye when you have like your resume is way worse than someone else. But that whatever. We're not talking college. This is an NFL podcast.
Yeah.
But the same sort of thing applies to the NFL. Like I think in 5 years you're going to see a change in the NFL, and I think next year you're going to see a change in college football, where you got to reward these teams that won almost every game versus these teams that were in a shitty division and just beat the other shitty teams. But enough on that. I'm off my soapbox. 16 games, a lot of good ones, some other interesting ones, some bad ones. We got a 16.5 point spread on the road. We got teams fighting to stay in it. We got Bears Vikings on Monday night.
Bears, Vikings, go Bears.